Let's go over Momo's training so that way we can stay consistent at home. We want to reinforce and reward the behaviors that we want to keep seeing, such as calm behaviors and following our commands, with either praise, petting, or treats. And then those behaviors that we don't want to keep seeing, such as not following our commands or jumping up on us, we want to follow through with our training equipment so that way we decrease those behaviors. So let's go over Momo's training equipment. This is his slip collar. He's going to wear this whenever he's on a leash. The leash is going to attach to this end and this ring. How we put it on is we're just going to make a big loop, put it on over his head, put it high up on his neck, and then we're going to cinch it down so that way it creates it to where it doesn't make a big loop and it can't slip over his head. So how we use this, say he is in the heel command. Heel just means walk next to me on a nice loose leash. So whenever he's in the heel and he's where we want him, we're going to have nice slack in the leash so that way there's no tension at all. And then whenever he starts to pull ahead or he does something we don't want to see, we're going to say no, pop of the leash, and then we'll remind him heel. So no marks the incorrect behavior that we don't want to see. Pop of the leash is the follow through, and then we remind him the command that we are asking him to do. And then, of course, whenever he gets back into the heel, we can give him praise, petting, and treats to let him know he's doing a good job. Now let's go over his remote collar. How we turn this on and off is there is a red dot on the remote and a red dot on the collar. We're going to touch these together, and then you'll see the green light flash whenever it is on and ready to go. So that green light means it's on, charged, and ready to go. How we turn on the remote, on and off button on the back, we're just going to push and hold until the screen lights up. You're going to see level 10 appear on the screen. This is Momo's working level. So how we use this, say he's in the heel. Heel means walk next to me on a nice loose leash. Whenever he starts to pull ahead or he's doing something that we don't want to see, we're going to say no, marking that incorrect behavior. Black S button, heel. No, heel. And then when he gets back, we can give him that praise, petting, and treat. So whenever we're working him, we're going to focus on the black S button. S just stands for stimulation. So it's kind of like an electric muscle stimulator. And then every time we take him out, we're going to have this on him. So if he's on a leash, he's going to be wearing this. And in the beginning of training, he may have to have this on in the house. So that way we can communicate with him and help guide him where we need him. And then with the remote collar, it's going to be the first thing that we put on in the morning and the last thing that we take off at night. So that way we always have a form of communication with Momo throughout the day. Depending on the level of distraction that we have, we may use one of these, we may use both of these. It depends on the situation that we are in. So now that we've gone over his equipment, let's go over his commands. We've already kind of gone over the heel. So whenever we take him out on walks, about 80 to 90% of the walk should be in the heel position. The other 10 to 20%, we can give him that release word free. Free means he's not in any set command, and that's when he can go do his business and enjoy the walk. We're going to follow him rather than us, or rather than him following us. Now we have sit. Sit means stay as implied until he's given the release word free. So this is really good for those door manners. So whenever we approach a door, whether it's inside or outside, we're going to have Momo sit. And then we can open the door. As we open the door, we like to remind him sit because that's a big distraction. So we just want to remind him what to do as we're opening the door. And then we have two options. We can free him through the door on his own, or we can heel through the door with him. So whenever we're doing this, we want to make sure we do it until he gets it right. So that way we set those firm boundaries that we have here at the facility at home. So say he sits and he does it and it's perfect and he stays, great. If not, we're going to follow through with the training equipment until he gets it right. So that way he knows that when we ask the first time, he knows that he's supposed to sit rather than us asking him 7 times and then he finally does it. Now we have down. Down also means stay as implied. So whenever we're working with the down, whenever we're doing a little bit of a distraction, we don't want to call him to us from wherever we're at because then we're going to reward him for coming to us and not staying in that down stay. So whenever we put him in a down, we want to go back to him and release him from where he's at. So that way he knows that that down stay is what we are asking of him. And then when we reward, we try to reward low to the ground. So he knows the positive zone is going to be low to the ground. And now we have place. Place is that boundary stay that we can use whenever we have company come over. So that way he can experience everything that is going on, but he is on a set boundary so that he's not in everybody's way when they're coming through the door. Whenever you first practice this in the house, I would suggest having a leash on him. So that way if he decides to get off, we can kind of guide him back to the bed. So just like the down though, we're not going to release him from a distance because then we're going to reward him for coming to us and not staying in that place stay. So we'll do the distraction, have people come over, and then we can go over and we're going to release him from where he is. And with place, we're going to reward on the bed. So that way the positive zone is the bed and the positive isn't coming from us. So he's like, he knows that place means I'm supposed to stay on this boundary. Now we have recall or come when called. Whenever we practice this, we want to have him on a 30 to 50-foot leash to start out with, so that way if he decides to get extra distracted, we have a way to reel him back into us. So whenever we're practicing this, ideally whenever we need him to come back to us, it's whenever he is in that free mindset, just doing his own thing. So we can give him that release word free, let him get distracted, do his own thing, and then we can call him to us. So whenever we say it, we're going to say it in a loud, firm tone. Praise him as he's coming to us. We can back up even to invite him into our space, have him sit, and then give him the reward. So if he does get extra distracted, we'll just have to use the leash. But with this command, we're going to reward every single time. So if he gets distracted out there and we have to give him a little bit of a leash tug, whenever he gets back to us, we're still going to reward that so that he knows that coming into our space is always going to be a positive. And then we have leave it. Leave it just means don't grab that. So first start out with dog safe foods. You can toss it on the ground and then you say leave it. If he does, great. If not, follow through with the training equipment. Whenever you first practice this one, I would suggest having a leash on him so that way we have a way to kind of communicate with him and guide him into a different scenario if we need to. So that is all of Momo's commands. So we want to keep rewarding those behaviors that we want to keep seeing and whenever he's following our commands, and then those behaviors that we don't want to see, such as jumping up on us or barking or doing any of that nipping, we can follow through with the training equipment to decrease those behaviors. So that is all of Momo's commands and his training equipment. Now we are going to see him do his commands.
Heel. Down. Good. Down. Good. Down. Good. Down, Momo. Good. Down. Good. Down, Momo. Boy. Free. Good job, Momo. Leave it. Free. Okay. Oh. Good. Leave it. Leave it. Good boy. Free. Okay. Come on. Leave it. Good boy. Free. Place. Good boy. Place. Place. Good. Legs. Come on. Free.
Let's go over the other features of the remote. Now that we know how to turn them on, let's go over how to turn them off. So what we're gonna do, same concept, red dot on the remote, red dot on the collar. We're gonna touch these together And then once we see that red light pop up, which it did for a second, and then I accidentally turned it back on, that's how we know that the collar is off. And then how we turn off the remote, on and off button on the back, push and hold till that screen goes blank. Now I'm going to turn them back on and we're going to go over the other features of the remote. So we've already gone over what this black S button is. That is going to be the number that we see on the screen, which is level 10. Now let's go over the red S button. Red S stands for emergency cases only. So this is going to jump his level from 10 to 25. So if he is doing something dangerous such as running after a car or chasing a squirrel, we have a way to communicate with him, because whenever his adrenaline is really high, level 10 only reaches here and he's up here. So we want to be able to have a way to match that, so that way we can still communicate with him whenever he is in that high adrenaline state of mind. So red S is for whenever we are in an emergency case and we need to communicate with him to tell him that what he's doing we don't want to see. And then on the other side, we have a T. T just stands for vibrate. So we like to use this to make sure that the collar is on. But you can also use this further in his training whenever he doesn't really need the stimulation, but you notice he's doing something that we don't want to see. You can use the vibrate feature to just say, hey, I don't like what you're doing, knock it off. And then on the back of the remote, we have an M/C button right next to the on and off. This button stands for momentary or continuous. At the beginning of Momo's training, we start at a very low level at continuous to introduce the remote in a positive way. And then whenever we get further into the training, we switch it over to momentary at a little bit of a higher level. And that's what he should stay at for the rest of his training. Then also on the back of the remote, the on and off button also works as a flashlight feature. So if we press it rather than hold it, it's going to flash these two lights. So that way, if you let him out at night, you can see him. If we click it that second time, it's going to be a solid light. And then that third time is going to make it turn off. Then you notice that level 10 isn't working with Momo. Say he's having too much of a reaction or he's just not really responding to it. We can change this level by pushing down on the dial until the 1D at the top of the screen starts flashing. And then we can rotate this to any number that we want. So level 10 is working for Momo, so I'm just going to move it back to level 10. How we lock it in place is we're just going to hold down on the dial again until the number stops flashing. And I accidentally locked it at 11 because it's a little bit touchy. That's no big deal. I'll change it later. But this is so we can't rotate it. If we put it in our pocket, we can't accidentally change his level. So that is all the features of the remote. Inside the box, we have extra long prongs if you need them. Momo does have a little bit of longer hair. I haven't noticed that the prongs aren't making good contact, but if you notice that he's not really responding at all, you can check to make sure his prongs are making good contact, and if you have to, you can change them over to the longer prongs. It does come with a dual charger, so you can charge both the remote and the collar at the same time. The charging ports on the collar are right underneath the prongs, and then for the remote, it's on the back right next to the on and off button. They stay charged for about 2 days if he wears it for about 12 to 14-hour days. So if you charge it every other night, you should have no problems with it. And then at the bottom of the box, we do have a manual. So if you have any questions, you can go over this and get them answered, hopefully. The remote and collar also come with a 2-year warranty. So if you have any issues, say it's just not working, you can contact the company at the back of the box and they'll get in contact with you and hopefully get you all figured out. And then they are waterproof, so if they get wet, no big deal. He can still wear them. We just want to make sure that we rotate it on his neck so that way it doesn't irritate one part of his neck if he's going to stay wet for an extended period of time. We'll just rotate it to the other side so that way it isn't rubbing on his neck. So that is all the other features of the remote. So with his training, we just want to make sure that we stay consistent and then we have fun.